welcome to Talking It Out. I'm your host, Jonathan Geffner. My guest today is Wendy Lazarus. I'm very happy to have Wendy here because we have worked together more than once, and Wendy is a wonderful actress, varied in her abilities, comedic and dramatic, actually a very talented singer, and we'll get to various things she does. So Wendy, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
You're a versatile actress, or should I say actor? A lot of women go by actor these days.
You know, umpteen decades ago, it was actress or actor. Now the term is just actor. You know, female
Okay.
actor, male actor, whatever your pronoun is.
Yeah. Okay, so you are no longer a versatile actress. You are a versatile actor.
Actor.
And right, I know that firsthand because you played the role of Mrs. Kane in season 2 of my web series, the Trillo and Suede web series.
Trillo and Suede, wonderful
You guys got it.
series.
Yeah, thank you. Check it out, everybody, right here on my YouTube channel. You also appeared in my new short film Casanoir as Mrs. Yenta Pupik.
Mrs. Pupik, Rabbi Pupik's wife.
So everybody check that out. Also, it's free for now, for the time being, on the YouTube channel, the Trillo and Suede YouTube channel, right here. What have you been doing recently? What kind of roles?
I'm going to be doing another play. It's a brand new play. Not sure when it's going to go on. The show that I did, the series, is now, this is Narcissist of New York City, is now playing on Amazon Prime. Just went up a few weeks ago. The first 6 episodes are out, and I told everybody I'm a recurring character. They have me as a recurring guest star.
Okay, well that's
so fun.
So you appear in this Amazon series. People could watch it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, and
Great.
it's you know,
what's it called again? The name? What's
it called Narcissists of New York City.
Oh, great.
The first 6 episodes are out there now. The rest of season 1 will follow in May.
That's good. So everybody can see you right now in your most current project. That's
my most current project that's out there.
Do you have a favorite type of role, drama or comedy? Do you have a preference, or do you just like a balance?
I do like a balance. I seem to probably at least 75–80% of the work that I've done is comedy, which I love comedy. Physical comedy, any kind of comedy. That's sort of me. People just sort of look at me and say, yeah, that's her.
Yeah, well, you're a natural at it.
You want an outlandish older woman, I'm your person. But I really do enjoy doing drama. I've done everything from a not nice older woman and how she treats her daughter, a grown woman, which sort of reminds me of growing up, always yelling. Probably the most challenging one is I played, unfortunately, this happened right before COVID. This was supposed to be to raise money to do a feature film. And I played, the star of it was a doctor who was trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's, which I started to develop in my 50s. I'm now much older and it's advanced. So this part of the film was showing me as a pretty advanced, and it was very, very intense to be able to repeat that over and over again. But I really like a combination of the comedy, the drama, and anything in between.
Yeah, well, you're a natural to comedy, I know from working with you, and I know drama too from some of the clips. In fact, right now, let's take a look. We have a few clips from an acting reel. People can see a couple of different things that you've done. Let's take a look.
And don't worry about the coat. Y'all have 3 big stalls as soon as the train passes over.
Oh, are you hungry? Oh, why don't we go home and I can fix you something to eat? You just look so skinny. You are home.
And it's going to be opening on 50th Street in February on my birthday.
So that gives you a little glimpse of some of the range of of Wendy Lazarus as an actor. Of course, we mentioned that you appeared in my current short film, Casanoir. You know, the reason that I wanted you and was glad that you could do that role is because I wanted someone who's not only a comedian or not only good at comedy, because I could tell from your audition for the web series the year before, and from your acting in it, that you can play dramatically, believably. And because I wanted someone who can play, I needed someone who could be funny, but also be believable as a character. So that's
As a
you have that.
character. Yeah, I mean, what was really funny when you cast me as Mrs. Kane, I had a lot of trepidation about it. My
Really?
sister and I lived together. And what we talked about is, I know I was replacing a woman who had played that same character in the first season. I
Yes.
said, do you think she died? Did she die of COVID? And that's why they
Oh.
had to replace the character.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm afraid to ask. And I did ask you the first day on scene,
Yes.
she's alive. What is she doing? COVID was still going on at the time we
Oh,
filmed
yes.
that
Yeah,
second
very
season.
much. Yeah. So that
Yeah,
was,
and I know almost everything that we did outside, so that it was no problem not having a mask because we were in open space. But
yeah.
I know a lot of people felt very uncomfortable because filming really started up prior to on-stage work. Most of the on-stage was through Zoom, and which is still going on today.
Yeah.
And I've done several plays via Zoom, but it's not the same thing as being there in person.
Right. That was very challenging to shoot that web series during COVID, because it's stressful enough. There's so many things to get something like that
Oh,
done
yeah.
on a tight budget, which I had, but with all the extra precautions we needed to take. And yes, the actress who you replaced, I believe she did not want to do it because of COVID. There were a couple of others who just were too afraid to do
To
it.
do it.
So, right.
Yeah.
So I was, I mean, I was very happy with her in the role, but I was also very happy with you in the role. So, and you did it your own way, which was
Yeah,
nice too.
I had seen her, the scenes that she did in season 1, and I purposely said, I've got to close my eyes to that. Because everybody interprets things differently, and they see things in their own way. So I said, okay, that's how you saw it. And I said, I'm shutting that down. I'm putting my own interpretation to this, totally up to the director, writer, to make the decision. Do they want to change the character just slightly? Same person,
Yeah.
but just a
yeah, you
different
made
way of interpreting it.
made it your own, and
Yeah.
then you made it your own when you played Mrs. Pupik in Casanoir. So
I love that role. That was so fun to play.
yeah, let's take a look at that. We have a clip from Wendy's performance as Mrs. Pupik in my film Casanoir. Let's look.
Nightclub. There they sit, and kvetch, and kvetch, and kvetch.
I told you we should have left when they only required 100 doses. Now they require 200 doses, and there are no supplies.
A man in my position has responsibilities, Yenta. I'm not only Rabbi Schmutzig Pupik, I'm also the owner of Schmutzig Pupik's Knishes. I have a reputation to uphold.
You know, your Fakakta Knish store was closed by the health department 2 months ago.
Ah, but my gefilte fish side business, huh? Got a major deal pending. With the money I make, I'll be able to bribe the health inspector to reopen my Knish store.
And now that's the problem. You know, we're never gonna leave this stinking city.
Don't you see? And with the money I'll make, I'll be able to buy us letters of transit.
I should live long enough to see you make money.
Everyone in Brooklyn is dying to eat my Knishes.
No, everyone is dying from your knishes.
Oh, you don't understand, Yenta.
You never appreciated my Knishes. Think of the flavors. Potato, kasha, salmon.
No, you mean salmonella.
That was Wendy Lazarus as Mrs. Pupik in Casanoir, and you can see Casanoir right here on this YouTube channel, the Trillo Suede YouTube channel. It's here in its entirety for the time being for free. So make sure to watch it. Enjoy Wendy and the other wonderful actors who participated in
Oh,
that film.
there were so many good people in that film.
Yeah, I was very, very happy with the cast that we assembled for that. So
And all
also,
the awards that it won.
yes, it did win a lot of awards
A lot
in
of
film
awards.
festivals
Yeah.
internationally for best short film and all kinds of other things. By the way, it's a spoof, parody, and tribute to Casablanca, the famous
Casablanca,
1942
which was
classic.
just on TV just last week, as a matter of fact, and I had to put it on.
Oh, sure. Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's always
I don't know how
on
many times I've
someplace.
seen it, but I had to watch it again.
Seems like that's never not on. It's always someplace you can turn on, find Casablanca someplace.
Absolutely. What was really funny when because I didn't know where you were going to be filming it when you know, when you offered the role for me, and I said, absolutely. I love working with you. And you always have such a good crew.
Yeah.
To, on top of that. But when you told me where it was going to be, I said, you got to be kidding. Because where you filmed the days that I was filming was directly across the street from where I used to live. I said, now you're doing this. I could have basically crawled out of bed and walked across the street.
We'll have to get you in some shoot location that's near where you're living now. So I'll look.
That'd be good.
I'll look across the street.
Yeah, because even when we did the Trillo and Suede, I was not even a 10 minutes from where I was living then to where you filmed that.
Glad it worked out.
But I did another film in the exact spot that we did the Trillo and Suede that day. The exact spot.
That
Yes.
exact spot.
Exact spot.
You're talking about the Flushing Meadow location?
Yep.
Flushing Meadow.
Yep. It was a short film. They actually brought in, it wasn't even a porta potty, it was a full bathroom. And there were two of them. They were air conditioned.
Oh.
And there were dressing rooms in
No.
them. And it was like, oh, this is nice. They said, we didn't have that before. You know how long a walk it was to go
A
to use
stark
John
contrast,
Walmart.
yes. That was a film with some sort of budget as opposed
Well,
to
which a lot
buying.
of films do.
Yeah.
But that was that film, that the second film that I did there was called Frank and Edna Take on Le Mans. And I played another very quirky character, which we actually were filming part of that at the same time that we were doing Casanoir.
Oh.
And the character
Go back and
was
forth.
well, obviously she was Jewish, but then the character that I was playing, OG, the original gangster, was a Brooklyn. And it was like there was one day, and it was like the day after we were filming, and going, which accent am I using? Am I doing Yiddish or am I doing Brooklyn?
You got it just right for me. I'm sure it turned out great for the other one too.
Yeah, well, actually, what's strange is they had a private showing of that film, Frank and Ed to Take on Le Mans, and my sister came with me and a friend and her granddaughter, and we left the private showing because it was accepted in a couple very large film festivals, and it was taken out. I got a call the following week because my sister said it needs more comedy. It's comedy drama. I was the comedy relief, and said they need more scenes of you. And I got a call from the director the next day, said we have to add you in more scenes. We took it out of the festival. It is now a feature film.
So wait a second, it was accepted into the festival, and yet they gave them
They
feedback that they need to change
They
it?
took it out. Yeah, they wanted to refilm.
So they took it out, but not the festival. It wasn't the festival accepting then rejecting.
No, they had already been accepted.
Oh, and
And
despite that,
and it's going to be going back in. It is now a feature film, and hopefully it's basically about a cancer survivor, which is my son-in-law. Even though OG, I always call it original gangster. It's supposed to be the original grandmother.
your path to becoming an actor, how did it all begin?
It was a very strange path. Believe it or not, yeah, I'm loud, and it's like now that I'm of a certain age, I could care less what comes out of my mouth. But sometimes I surprise myself. I said what? I did what? Because when I was younger and even into adulthood, I was extremely shy, extremely introverted. So it's really difficult for me to even audition for anything, even though I knew I wanted to be an actor. And I loved the stage. But it was a difficult thing to do when you're sort of afraid of your own shadow. But I'll tell you, it was actually my sister who got me into the theater. It was at the largest community theater, and we're talking, this was quite a few years ago, was in Youngstown, Ohio, and it was the Youngstown Playhouse. And there you had to apprentice to do everything. You had to do everything backstage before you were allowed to audition on stage. And it was a phenomenal experience, so that you really got to see how a theater production was really put together.
So you learned about the crew work, the different kind of
You
jobs.
had to do everything. Lights, sound, props. It didn't matter. I stage managed, assistant stage managed, did it all. Dresser. The only thing I couldn't do was, at that time, and people may not even know about it. Now it's all, electric. But at that time, the flies, where there's anything that needs to come down and dropped from above onto the stage, was done manually through pulley, and you had to be up. And it was like 3 or 4 stories up. And you had to climb a ladder. It was a metal ladder attached to the wall. And I had a fear of falling. I got probably about 10 feet up, and I froze. It took 2 people to get me down. But it got me into the theater, and I got the bug. And I absolutely loved it.
I believe you told me once a story about how you got revenge on a former voice teacher, I believe, at that Youngstown Playhouse.
Well, it wasn't. It's actually, I decided at the end of my sophomore year that I wanted to major in music. Never had a music lesson in my life on anything. I wanted to major in voice, but I was afraid to sing in front of anybody. So I took piano and got into Dana School of Music, which is part of Youngstown State University. And I got in after having taken 1 year of lessons on the piano.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Fast learner.
And at that time, they did have a rule, who knows whether it's there anymore, that once you were in, you could change your major. So after my first semester on piano, I switched to voice. Never had a voice lesson. It was really crazy. I did have an operatic sound back in those days, and I had over 3-octave range, which was good even for back then. I'm down to about just over an octave. As I've gotten older, I've lost that. But my voice teacher had gotten sick, and the head of the voice department wouldn't assign another teacher. I had to learn it on my own. And I went through it. For your final grade, you had to sing on stage in front of the entire, faculty. And I basically froze, and I couldn't get it out. And I wound up, they took me out, they flunked me as a voice major. I still stayed as a music major, but I couldn't do voice anymore. And this was like maybe 3 or 4 years later. I was performing at the Youngstown Playhouse in a musical where I sang also solos, West Side Story. I was also a backup singer for Maria in the background.
Oh, really? You did
balcony scene.
what is her name? Marnie Nixon.
Yeah, trust me, I've done that in 4 different shows.
Yeah, she was the one who sang for Maria, for Natalie Wood.
Yeah. Because back in those days, not every theaters were mic'd, and it was a 750-seat theater with balcony. You had to be heard and project. And she was loved. She was great in the role. It was a 5-week run for musicals. And it was like the second week of the run, we were told that there would be a guest conductor. It was a live, we had a real orchestra. And who walks in to do it, but was the head of the voice department, who flunked me out and wouldn't give me any help, even get me a voice teacher.
Well.
And I said, I'm be darned if I'm going out there and showing them what I can do.
Yeah.
And I love being on stage. At that point, it was like I'd already gotten over my fears and I'm singing my heart out and I'm acting my little heart out. And after the show, after the first night, he came back and he looked for me and he walked up to me and he said, I am so sorry. I had no idea you could sing, let alone how talented you are on that stage. And I said, well, it's a little late now. You already flunked me out without a voice teacher.
At least he finally acknowledged it. So that
He
must
did
be
acknowledge it, but it
satisfactory.
definitely was a little late. But you know what? Yeah, even to this day, I have a hard time auditioning for singing. And the only way I get through it is because when I'm performing, you know, it's like an inane sense that you know, I'm here to entertain. I'm here to have a good time, have the audience have a good time. So that's what gets me through auditions now. Just think of it as a performance.
You can belt, but you started off as an operatic singer, I believe. Is that what
I
you were?
started out as an opera. Yeah, I was a mezzo.
Yeah, and then you do Broadway. Like there's a clip here I want our viewers to see and hear of you singing a bit of "Rockabye Your Baby." So this is
Rockabye Your Baby.
more of a belting song, right? A fun song. So let's take a listen.
Sing that song again for me. Sing soft and low, just as though you had me on your knee. A million baby kisses I'm gonna deliver the minute that you sing that Swanee River. Rockabye, you rockabye baby with a Dixie melody.
And that was Wendy Lazarus singing a bit of, or an excerpt from "Rockabye Your Baby."
Yeah, that was an abridged version of the full song, the full
Yeah, but
number.
it gives people a little taste of it, your range of talent and singing ability in this case. Wendy, you left acting for a while, for
decades.
for a long while.
Decades,
That is,
yeah, a
you got
long
into
while.
finance, the financial world. What exactly
Yeah,
were you doing?
because I was actually double major in college, music and accounting. And because, you know, the family could not understand, you can't make a living in theater. And that's, you know, what I wanted to do. And I totally understood that. So, you know, I went to what they called the real world and I made a decent living for myself with in the back of my mind saying, you know what, as an actor, it doesn't matter. There are roles for any age. So I'm going to do this when I retire. And that's what I plan on doing. In between, I did like a show here and there, but I put in very long hours in most of my career and I traveled around for my job. So it was difficult to really get involved in a particular theater company because I wasn't there long enough. But I did prepare myself. I had been in New York long enough and I knew this is what I was going to do. So I hadn't really performed for a long, long time. And in my mind, I never thought of film in the beginning. I thought of theater. You know, I wanted Broadway. While I was working 12, 14-hour days, in between, I hooked up with a musical director, an accompanist, and started working on my own woman shows that I played a lot of the clubs in the area. And Rockabye Your Baby was one of the numbers, but the full version of it. And I also volunteered, you know, performed for charity for, you know, hospitals and, you know, and various things in private clubs. But it was a great way to work with an audience and be comfortable again, because I love an audience. I know people would say, well, you have to write out all your script and stuff. I said, I know, because I would kibitz with the audience and storytell and not just sing. I said, you have to have it all written out. I said, no, because every audience is different. You have to keep yourself open that you may have to change the order as long as if there is a musical number that you have to give a specific cue for, that you work that cue with. But other than that, have fun with the audience so that they're relaxed and you're relaxed with them. And I would go through them. And it was a great time. And, you know, I was doing a lot of shows. And it just turns out, after working for a very large financial company, things were changing. We're not talking that many years ago. That's, it was a little over 7.5 years ago. And you could sort of see the writing on the wall that a lot of people that were getting older were being shoved out. And I saw that was going to happen to me. Yeah, I was up for senior vice president, and I should have been in about 6 months, but then I was given a position that was technically not right for me. And I saw it and I said, they're going to do the same thing to me because I'm well over. I was older than the people that they were letting go for like incompetency and for not being able to do their jobs. I said, that's not going to happen. So I went to my boss. I said, okay, we got to make a deal. I was the only one they made the deal for. So I was the only one that actually approached them and said, this isn't good. You're not going to do this to me. They kept me on the
good
books.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept me on the books for 6 months as being employed, went back to school, took acting classes, how to get into the business, and did all kinds of stuff. And so it was a great way to do it. I could go back to school, not have to worry about the money. And that's sort of how I went from there.
So a blessing in disguise, right?
It was definitely a blessing in disguise. And what also, because there seemed to be a lot more film work than there was stage work, I started doing a lot of short films and different projects with schools like NYU that either didn't pay anything or just paid very little. But it was such a good learning experience how to work in front of a camera. It is much different than being bigger than life on stage, even though I'm only 4'11". I'm big on stage, and you have to bring it down.
Well, you do have a big presence.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been told.
Yeah. So, do you have a preference? What would be your dream role or job or venue? Like, if you could have magic wand, exactly what you would want to do.
I had a feeling you were going to say, what is, I know just out of the shows that I've done, and I'm not even going to say this in any kind of order whatsoever. I mean, obviously, I love playing Mrs. Pulpic. It was a fun role to do. But there also have been some of the stage stuff was Mrs. Peterson in Bye Bye Birdie, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
That was such a fun role to play. And I had fun on stage every single night. Even the cast members and the crew would count what lines got the most laughs. And my character won. I got the most.
I'm not surprised.
Right. And there was a role that I did, and it was a musical that I wish could have gone farther than it did. And I was a replacement for somebody who basically broke his contract just like 2 weeks before the show was going to open. And the character's name was Sydney, and it was a 90-minute play. That character's on stage for the entire 90 minutes and was sort of like an otherworldly sort of different dimension that the people on stage couldn't see them. They were townspeople, but the audience, I would speak directly to the audience and introduce every single scene that was going on. And it was a musical comedy drama. It was sort of like Angels in America. It was that type of character. And it was something I didn't think I would ever get to do. And the person that I replaced, I had done a show with before where he was the director. And it was rather strange to take over for him. There was also a show directly after that I started, was the day that show closed. I went into rehearsal for another show that I also, just like Mrs. Kane, they had done the show before. It was called Then Sean Met Khalid. And the woman who had the role before me didn't want to do it again. She was living down south. She didn't want to come back to New York to do it. So they had to find basically a last minute replacement. I had 5 rehearsals, a dress rehearsal, and then we went live on the 7th day. And it was a wonderful, I cried every night on stage. Yes, I
Oh.
was the comedy relief, and there was a little bit, but
Mm.
it's very heavy. It's basically my character is a grandmother. My daughter adopts a baby, but didn't tell me it was a black boy until she hands me the baby, and I pull it and find out it's a black child.
Oh.
And it's basically his story growing up in a white family in a white town to find his roots,
Mhm.
and how the family, particularly the grandmother, the way that I played it, was sort of the religious, how could you do this, to I love you so much, I don't know what we would do without you, and how that relationship grows. And there was a scene that every night, I mean, the tears would
Oh,
just come
wow.
down my cheeks.
This
We
was
were- yeah,
a play. Like, it was
it
on
was a
stage.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an off-Broadway run.
Um,
And it was supposed to reopen after COVID. Couldn't find a theater.
mm.
And it basically, they gave up. So a lot of the small theaters for the off-Broadway still haven't reopened.
Yeah, no, tough times. At least you had that experience. That was a very
Had
intense
the
experience.
experience for several months, yeah, and it was a wonderful show to be a part of.
Well, Wendy, it's been great to have you here as my guest on
Thank
Talking
you
It
so
Out.
much.
And I'm going to post your social links or whatever your important links are under this video so people can follow you and stay in touch. But
Okay.
just maybe verbally here, maybe you could tell people your main way if they want to follow you. What's the main way they could follow you, your activities?
I believe it or not, I'm so far into my 70s. I'm not the biggest on social media.
Huh.
I am on Facebook. So yes, you can definitely follow me on Facebook.
Okay,
I
so
don't post as much as I should. I don't use TikTok. I'm sorry. I'm
uh,
sorry, guys.
yeah, well, the TikTok's a whole other world, but
Instagram.
yeah, Instagram, none of that stuff.
I'm
But
sorry.
they can find you on Facebook, right? Let's look up
Oh,
Wendy Lazarus.
absolutely. Yeah, I am
Okay.
on Facebook.
So I'll post that link, and if you
Okay.
think of any other links after we finish recording here, you can let me know. I'll post that also because I'm sure some of our viewers here would love to keep track of the things you're doing and catch you and things that are available to them to see.
Yeah.
So
I would love it. Yes.
yeah, no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, go. Yeah,
Huh.
I cut you off right in the middle of starting your word.
So I was just going to remind everybody that to stay tuned for ways to contact you. But so what were you going to say?
Oh no. You know what? I don't even remember. What can I tell you?
Okay.
I haven't seen your second.
Never mind. Okay, so
But don't forget to watch Narcissist of New York City on Amazon Prime also.
oh right, that's the one. I knew there was some important link. Yeah, so that's the main one. Amazon Prime. I'll put that link for sure. Who knows
Okay.
about the others because you're not really a social media person, but
Yeah.
that one
But you
they
can catch
see
a
you.
lot of, I've done a lot of skits for Comedy Central, and they're all on YouTube. So if you're on Comedy Central,
There you go.
yeah.
Okay, that's a good little clue as to how to see the work you've done. Comedy Central. Look for some roles that you've done for them. So everybody, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this interview, give us a like and a share, and write a comment. I'll be sure to answer. And well, I'll try to answer. Usually, I try to answer all the comments. And also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that yet. You can see all the videos, the Trillo Suede web series in which Wendy has an important role, and also Casanoir, my new short
Casanoir.
film. You'll see Wendy in Casanoir in an important role as well, and it's a fun movie. I'm sure you're going to find. So it's all here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new future uploads as they appear. So until next time, take care.
Thank you.